Welcome back, everybody. This is JP Trades. Let's jump back into a trade recap on Bitcoin. It's been a while since I've actually done a trade recap, but they're about to be regular routine for everyone in my VIP Discord. So let's get into this power of three that happened on December 18th. I have not traded much in the end of December and the very beginning of January, where we are currently at, because I usually take some time away for holidays and the trading kind of sucks. So I usually wait till the end of the first week in January, or maybe even the second week in January, until I really get things rolling again. But so what were we looking for in this power of three? We're here on the 30-minute time frame. The first thing I wanted to see was my volume on this down leg of structure. And as I announced this trade in the, it was the old Discord. So, however, it was right here when I announced the trade. We had just made a couple of candles below this accumulation area and below this value area low. So I immediately said in that update that I wanted to see a wider manipulation instead of just these few candles right here. As time passed on, the volume profile moved along with price. And let's take this off of there for now. So in this manipulation zone, actually, let's put it back on real quick. What I was looking for initially was I wanted to have a nice range down here, come back into this value area low, then have that nice fast distribution all the way up to this high here. You also have the point of control of this value area right at these highs as well for some nice confluence. However, we didn't get that at all. We literally just got a few candles down here, came back above, back tested that value area low, and then we did lift off from that value area low. So it was close to what I wanted to see. However, I would have really liked this manipulation area to fill out a little bit more for a better manipulation. So as price moves along, as you get this retest back down here, let's go ahead and move that now. You started to retest that value area low. You also had a nice 30-minute order block right here. And yes, we did wick right into that order block. And if you move it up to the fair value gap, you can also include the fair value gap there as well. However, we dipped in, came back out, reclaimed that value area low, which for me was the confirmation for this trade. So I had my stop loss at the low of this order block, and then I first targeted these highs, and then I targeted the ultimate high of the power of three along with this point of control. So that was about a 6.4 R trade. And if you broke that up into maybe two TPs, that's about, 5.75, 5.6, 5.7 R trade. Nonetheless, we'll call it a 5.5 R trade. But what else was I looking at when I look at power of threes? What else can we look at, as this did not have structure coming into it? Let's chop this back a little bit and let's go down to the 5-minute. You can see here, we had zero structure coming into this area. So even if we go down to, say, like a 2-minute time frame, you didn't have any structure down here to break and then retest into this tiny order block here. However, Could we have used other tools outside of market structure? Yes, we absolutely can. And I know a lot of people that trade SMC or just trade price action, they get very dogmatic about not using indicators and using nothing but market structure, right? It's the key, right? Yeah, it is. However, we do have other tools that can go even deeper. And by that, I mean order flow tools. So as you see here, this structure piece here is this structure piece here, just on an order flow software chart. Now, what I'm going to do is show you what I was looking at in this manipulation box here. And remember, we had that value area low sitting right here, okay? But remember here that we had a tiny, tiny order block, but no structure to break. And again, let's go down to the 1 minute. Let's be as clear as we can be. We did have some structure down here in the 1 minute. However, it was a little weird because you were coming down from this high here. Let's go ahead and just draw that in. Coming down from this high here. And yes, you do have a few candles here, which could lead to a structure because we did take this low as an SFP. So if you wanted to use that, you absolutely could have. You could have called this or this your market structure shift. And then you could have taken this order block, which again, let's go back to the 2 minute. You had this tiny, tiny order block here. We will make that one green. So could you have taken that trade? Yes, you could have. Absolutely. However, a lot of people don't like to use 1 minute market structure. And sometimes just seeing this with the candles by themselves, you all know that market structure can fail really easily. You all know that if market structure isn't clear as day and has very solid structure, meaning coming into a level, it gets a little bit shaky. So I come over here. I want to see what's happening on the heat map, and I want to see what's happening in order flow. More importantly, I want to know what's going on with the participants in the market, the buyers and the sellers. So again, you see down here, this is that tiny little order block. Well, this was actually a 5 minute order block, but you had a smaller 1 minute order block here. Sorry, 2 minute order block right there. So either way, 5 minute or the 2 minute, could use either one. But what do we want to pay attention to here? What do I want to see? What do I want to understand is going on in a manipulation zone of a power of 3 or an AMD? Let's first turn on the heat map. Yeah, this might look a little bit crazy to you if you're new to this, but I promise you, we're not Elon Musk building rockets or anything. This is a whole lot easier than that. It can get a little bit complicated in the beginning, but with practice and repetition, I promise you, you can learn this. So what do we see down here in this manipulation area? One, let's turn off the cluster candles. Even just looking at our heat map, you should be able to notice something just by looking at this. Now, I'm not going to get real deep into how to just use a heat map on its own without even candles. Yeah, there's a way. However, that's going to be coming in our education system in just a few months. But there's a lot to talk about there. Very detailed, nuanced stuff. So that's not going to be in this trade recap video. However, something I can tell you is we can see this nice cluster of limit orders sitting here. And let's dig into this and really take a look. I mean, you see 200s. And again, this is on Bitcoin value. This is not USD. This is not $200. This is 222 Bitcoin. And Bitcoin at this time was $84,700. So you do the math. And of course, if you don't like this view, you can always change this in Market Monkey. And you can see the actual dollar amount. However, I like to see the coin amount. So we had 200 Bitcoin, 180, 140, 260, so on and so on and so on. Down here, we had even higher numbers right here and right here. 744, 565. So we have some heavy buyers in this area ready to soak up price once price gets there. Now let's turn back our candles back on, and you can see where the candles actually ended up on the heat map, where they got absorbed at. Where did all these sellers sell into? Right in this fat cluster of buy orders. I mean, this one's kind of picture perfect, if I have to really say so myself. But then we can see what's going on inside the candles. So this is the context. Just like market structure, and the power of three was your context of a plan to play out, and that's what you're looking for, is to see if this plan actually goes in the structure of a power of three. You're looking at liquidity in the same way. So you see massive amounts of liquidity here. Let's turn the candles on and now turn the heat map off. Let's pay attention to what's going on inside the candles now. So again, we are looking at this cluster of candles right here in X-ray vision. Of course, this is the 5-minute and this is the 2-minute currently. We see here we have 500. And again, this is coins, not $500. 500 Bitcoin. 500, 4, 3, 4, 7, 3. I mean, you have a few $1,000s of people selling at the dead bottom and it going nowhere. What do we see over here? Same thing. Over 1,000 Bitcoin. What do we see here? Well, they're starting to lose a little steam, but however, you still have a ton of people selling the dead bottom, trying to break through this support. But again, this support is on fire. One last time, they try to sell it off again with heavy selling at the dead bottom. And again, we're going to go make a really deep dive in how to understand this in the education material coming out very soon. So now that we know that we have tons of sellers down here and we saw the heat map where we had a ton of rusting passive limit orders. You now know that we had an order block right here. You can also see it on the 5-minute right here. However, that 2-minute order block was just a little bit lower. And this was your retest right here in these two candles. That's these two candles in that green order block that we could have taken the long from as well. If you wanted to get a very nice aggressive early entry, and you could have used that there. And when we take a closer look at this, we also see CBD rising while we have price still trying to break down in below this level rather. That is also giving us some very, very valuable information as price is coming down rather harshly with tons and tons of selling. And we have an open interest flush right here. And then open interest starts to carry out again. And then it starts to fall with CVD rising. And if you know how to read this, you know what I'm getting at. But again, I'm not going to go into a super long lecture here. So those are just a couple of ways you could have gotten in on this trade. And again, if you check that retest, well, you're kind of looking at the same thing. We have a cluster of imbalances down here at the lows, followed by a nice cluster of imbalances coming out of that area. And again, like I was showing y'all here, the retest area of that value area low, this was what I was looking at. And if you notice, I know this is a low time frame, but they're on all time frames and they all work really, really well if you know how to trade them. So this is your model too. In that area, that area was right here. I'm not going to go deeper into this, however, in the course and the education material coming out soon, we will be fully understanding this tool, the X-ray machine, and how to really, really see Wyckoff. And I don't know if anyone has ever done this like I have done it for myself and for a few of my mentor students. But this is going to blow your mind. Using order flow with Wyckoff, you are able to see so much more data and information to create confirmations, more confidence, even more aggressive entries. And in my opinion, sometimes aggressive entries are safer entries in certain contexts. And it has to do with how you set up your trade management. And again, all of this will be explained in great detail with tons of examples very, very soon. So that's what I was looking at for this Power of 3 trade. And to wrap this up, again, we had a very, very nice setup. And again, just like all my other trades, I use volume and price action, smart money concepts, and volume, even on here, as well as volume and order flow. Now, as you can see, that trade did play out. Took a little bit. It wasn't the most picture perfect Power of 3. I would have liked a little bit wider of a manipulation zone. However, like I was telling you here, this manipulation zone was very short because we soaked up a lot of Bitcoin in this short period of time. So there was evidence that we were ready to move from the manipulation zone. And it finally reached the target. So if you like this trade recap, like the video, subscribe, come over to the Discord. We have a free VIP Discord for a limited time. And we will be releasing a very, very special education system very soon that is unlike any other education system. It is not just a course. We are trying to bridge the gap from people taking courses and understanding concepts, taking them from the course to the application and to a consistent, profitable trader. So come over to the Discord, join us, and share everything in the Discord with everyone else in the community. And we will share everything back. We will learn together. And very, very soon, we're going to have a lot of new content in there. Talk to y'all guys later.